Welcome to the High Vibe Soul Podcast, a space where we discuss personal growth, spirituality, motherhood, relationships, and shifting old paradigms so that you can live your most authentic, soul-aligned life. I'm your host, Lyndsey, and I founded the High Vibe Soul Company to empower women and support them in becoming their highest, brightest selves. From my light to yours, I am so grateful you're here. I'm sharing a fun little episode all about the miracles and signs and synchronicities that led to my third child, Colette's birth. This is just an episode about following your intuition and listening to the signs and synchronicities and just kind of the magic of the universe of life. I'll start at the very beginning. I never wanted 3 children. That was never my intention, never my human intention, because it was obviously very much part of my soul's plan. But I always thought 2 kids, done. And so after we had Hudson and then Kenzie 2.5 years later, we were done. I got an IUD put in. Our family was complete in my mind. One day, I am nursing Kenzie. I will never forget this moment. She's 4 months old, and I'm looking at this perfect little tiny face. And all of a sudden, this thought hits me out of the blue. I think we're supposed to have another one. And then immediately after that, I'm like, what? Where did that thought just come from? Like, what was that? My intuition was clear. That's how your soul speaks to you in these messages that can be really like surprising, and they just kind of come out of the blue. And they're not super loud. Like, it's just one message and it's very clear, and then you feel it. That's how it was. I could not stop thinking about it the rest of the day. And I could not, at first I was thinking, what was that? And then I was really feeling like we are supposed to have another one. Like, I feel it in my heart, but logically in my mind, that is not our plan. Our plan is to move on, and I want to get back to work. I'm ready to move to that next phase in my life. That was my logical plan, but my heart was saying, yes, have another one. And so I'm wrestling with my mind and my heart all week, just thinking about it. I'm Googling, what is the transition like from 2 to 3 kids? It's so funny how the universe just like puts people in your path as your messengers. All of a sudden I'm seeing so many moms where they've got 2 kids and then like a little baby. And so I'm just asking strangers, like, how did you know you wanted a third? How is this transition going? And they're openly sharing their experiences and kind of getting me more excited about it. But still, I'm like, logically, this does not make sense. This is not our plan. Also, our house at the time really was not big enough for 3 kids. So that was like another piece of it. But I couldn't shake it. I was like, I think we're supposed to have one more. And now, this is 4.5 years later, I am so deeply connected to my intuition that I wouldn't have been questioning it so much, because I know what's for me and what's not for me, but at the time I wasn't quite there yet. So there was just a lot of this like mental heart battle. So by the end of the week, I'd been stewing on this, and I hadn't told my husband. And finally on Friday, I'm like, hey babe, I need to talk to you about something. And I was so nervous because I didn't know what he was going to say. And I was, 80% sure that I wanted a third child. And I said, I think we're supposed to have one more. And the look on his face, I wish I could have taken a picture, because it was this look of shock, but also excitement and like this huge smile. And in that instant, I was like, oh, okay, he's up for this. And he goes, oh my gosh, where is this coming from? You didn't even want 2 at one point. You were one and done at one point after Hudson. And I'm like, I know, but I don't know. I've just been thinking about it all week, and it just hit me when I was nursing Kenzie. And I think we're supposed to have another child. And he's like, I mean, okay, like, yeah, I'm up for that. And I said, and I think we're supposed to do it soon. I think we're supposed to knock this out, is what I kept saying. We're supposed to knock this out. And he's echoing me, and he's like, yeah, I think you're right. I think we're supposed to knock this out. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess we can revisit at the year mark or like year and a half. And he's like, okay. And so I had my IUD in, going through winter and spring comes. And in May, all of a sudden I'm like, I need to get this out. And again, my logical mind was thinking, why do you need to get this out? You don't want to have 2 kids under 2 years. Like, you don't need to get this IUD out right now. But it was like my heart, my soul was pulling me to get my IUD out, and I just knew I was supposed to get it out. So I convinced my logical mind, like, oh, well, once you get the IUD out, it might take a few months for your hormones to go back to normal, whatever, right? That's not how it works, P.S. Not for everybody. And so I got my IUD taken out in May when Kenzie was 11 months old. The next month, my husband was traveling all month. I was traveling with the kids, visiting my family. We were like 2 ships just like passing in the night. And I remember the week that Kenzie turned a year old, we had sex. And I remember right after he and I looked at each other like, oh my God, we just did that. Like, this could become a child. I knew in that moment. I was like, it felt like something almost just like hit my energy. I was like, I'm pregnant. But I was sort of in denial because that would mean that I would have 3 kids in barely 4 years, and then my younger 2 kids would be like 20, 21 months apart, which was always a fear of mine, to be honest, that I would have 2 under 2. Well, I kind of just tried to put it out of my mind, and a few weeks went by, and I remember I was in a swimsuit, and Hudson, who was 3 at the time, looked at me and he goes, Mommy, your belly looks big. And I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. I'm definitely pregnant. Like, I was, I think, a week and a half late on my period at that point. I'm like, I just need to go take the test. And so I took it one morning. I remember waking up really early, taking the test. It was like 5:30, and just setting it back on my toilet and going back to bed. And then I got up later and I saw it and I was like, oh my God, shaking, like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. I'm going to have three kids in barely 4 years. Like, how am I going to do this? All of a sudden, all my worries were like pouring in, and I was just like shaking. And that day after my husband got home from work, I didn't do this in a cute way at all. There was no like fun little announcement. I just handed him the test as I was shaking still. And he goes, oh my gosh. And I go, yeah. And I just started crying because I was like, this is crazy. Like, what have we done? And he's like, it's okay. It's a good thing. And I'm like, is it? I don't know. I was a mess. But I came to accept it and get excited about it. It was a little frustrating. And I'm sure if you've had more than one kid, you know how this can be, where, especially if you have them back to back, people will be like, whoa, you're going to have your hands full. Like, guys, not helpful. Can we just not say that? So I went on with my pregnancy. We got to about the 6-month mark, and we still did not have a name for Coco. And I've got this list of names, and I'm pretty sure that I've gone through every single name with Kevin. And we'd already done, we had our boy name and our girl name, and we'd already used them. And there was a name that we were thinking, we love the name Riley for a boy or a girl, but it just didn't feel right for Coco. And so I'm just like, I don't know. I think Kevin kind of likes Addison. I really like the name Addison. Addie is like a super cute nickname. And I said, all right, let's just call her Addison. Can we stop calling her the baby and call her Addie? Kevin and Hudson are like, I don't know. And so I start calling her baby Addie. And the end of that week, Hudson, he's 3.5 at the time, he sits next to me, and I'm like, don't call her the baby anymore. Call her Addie. And Hudson looked at me dead in the eyes, and he goes, Mommy, that is not her name. And I said, okay, well, what's her name then? And he said, it's Coco. And I looked at my list of names, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Colette was one of my names. And I'm like, I swear I went over all these names with Kevin, though, and he pretty much vetoed everything. But Hudson was he said it again, he goes, it's Coco. He and Coco, oh my gosh, they are so connected, so connected, that I'm not surprised at all that he was the one that got the message from her soul. So he said, it's Coco. That night, I shared the name. I said, Kevin, what do you think about the name Colette? And maybe we call her Coco? And he's like, I love it. And so I told him the story about Hudson, and we were just in awe of just that little miracle right there. But ever since, that was baby Coco, or as I think the kids at the time, well, Kenzie couldn't even really talk yet, but they were calling her Toto, baby Toto. So fast forward, I'm 38 weeks and I have a condition called polyhydramnios, which is crazy excessive uterine fluid. I looked like I was having twins. And it was really interesting because I felt like I could certainly feel her kick, but I couldn't feel the pressure that I felt with the other two. I couldn't see the kicks as much. And now I know it's because she was just swimming in so much fluid. So just remember this going in, because this is a pivotal part of the story. So I go into labor, and the contractions are not moving as quickly as they did with Hudson or Kenzie, but I know that I'm in labor. And so I tell my husband that night, like, hey, it's time to go. And I'm just assuming, based on Kenzie's birth, which was, I got in the hospital at 5:15, I had her at 5:55, so what is that? 40 minutes. I'm just assuming, like, oh, this is going to go really, really fast again, maybe faster. So, like, let's go. Let's go a little bit earlier than maybe I normally would. So we get to the hospital and we get in a room, and I'm feeling the contractions, but they're not nearly as strong as I think they should be at this point, and they're just not moving as quickly. And I'm at like a 5 centimeter, which is kind of early for me to go in the hospital because the other two I went in at 6. But they're like, based on your past, if you want to get the epidural, like we only have one anesthesiologist on call because it's the middle of the night. So you might want to do it like earlier than later just to make sure you can get one unless you want to have a natural birth again. I also had considered getting a birth doula at one point and considered doing a natural birth again. But something in me didn't feel like the natural birth would work out, so I didn't. And now it makes so much sense why that little like piece of my intuition was speaking to me. But I never got a birth doula, and I was like, you know what, I'll just go with the epidural this time and do it that way and try to have a really calm, peaceful birth like I did with Hudson. I'm in the room, I get the epidural, I want to say like 2, 3 a.m. I hadn't slept the whole night, and I just don't progress. I think I get to maybe like a 6 or a 7, and that is after, gosh, I want to say 10 hours, something like that. It was wild. So they had to break Coco's water, which I didn't love, but we were hoping that would help me progress. There was so much fluid. The nurses were just like, oh my God, I've never seen this much fluid come out of somebody. Like, look at how your belly is instantly shrinking. They were like, this is more than a gallon of milk. Like, it was just nuts. So basically she was just like swimming around in fluid. She never dropped into place. So when she did drop in, she dropped in like a really, really funky position. And they would check me and they'd be like, what am I feeling? Like, her head was twisted to the side. They're like, is that an ear I'm feeling? Is that her mouth? Like, they couldn't tell. And she just wouldn't get into position. I wasn't progressing. My body was not dilating, like nothing was working. I was so frustrated. I was so upset. I was so mad at myself. Like, did I do this by getting the epidural? I was mad at my body, all the things. I also hadn't slept in 2 days, so I was just exhausted. So around, I want to say 3 or 4 p.m., I've talked to, the midwife, the OB, the nurses are amazing, and they're just like, sweetie, I think you need to consider a C-section. And I was like, no, I will never, like, no. And they're like, she's not in distress, so you've got time to think about it, but you're exhausted, and, it's up to you, but this is what we would do if it were our bodies. And it was both a midwife and an OB that I really, really liked for my group, and I really, really trusted. And my group is not one to just go for the C-section by any means. And so I thought about it, but I was just crying my eyes out. And the sweet nurse sitting next to me was just holding my hand. And she looks at me and she goes, what's your baby's name going to be, honey? And I said, Colette. And she said, oh my gosh. And her eyes were just wide. And I go, what? And she goes, I have to show you this. She goes, I don't know if you're religious, but I'm Catholic, and I get a Saint of the Day email. And she showed me on her phone, and it was Saint Colette's Day. And that felt like my sign from Colette, like, hey, Mom, it's okay. Like, this is the way I'm meant to come in. It's it's going to be okay if you get a C-section. Just bring me into this world, was sort of how I was feeling at that moment. And so she's then tearing up. I'm tearing up. Oh my gosh, this nurse, she was such an angel. I wish I could find out who she was now and talk to her. She changed my life that day, truly, with that little miracle, that sign that she gave me. An hour later, I had my C-section. And after, Colette was laying on my chest, and I'm just like, you're the one, like, you are the one I've been waiting for. I mean, she felt like home to me, like I've known her forever. And the nurse comes in, like, okay, we're going to give her her bath now, a new nurse. Her name was Colette. I was like, okay, universe, thank you for that one additional sign that I needed. Like, I don't know any Colettes. I don't know. I'm in the South. Like, Colette is not a very popular name. I don't think I've ever met another child named Colette. That was the first Colette I'd ever met in my life. Maybe you know more Colettes where you are, but yeah, it was just one more sign, like, you did the right thing. This was how it was supposed to go. And that doesn't mean that I didn't experience a lot of trauma and grief and sadness and shame, really, and guilt afterwards, because I certainly did. I have an episode on birth trauma, but I share my whole story about what happened after Colette's birth in that episode. Hello, friends. If you haven't done so already, make sure you sign up for my newsletter to receive 2 free meditations straight to your inbox. Just click the link in the show notes below or go to thehighvibesoulco.com. The High Vibe Soul meditations are very different than any other meditation you've ever done. They're very, very potent. I designed them so they drop you in very quickly and you receive exactly what you need in just 4 to 20 minutes. I cannot tell you the number of listeners who have told me, I'm really not a good meditator, but there's something about the way you do your meditations. I drop in so quickly and I'm able to just receive everything I need and I feel amazing after. I never understood the point of meditation until now. It's because I'm super, super intentional as I create with the words, the energy, the music I use. I hold the intention of the frequency I want you to feel when you listen. And being an energy healer myself has really helped me create these next level meditations. I'm never going to create a boring meditation. So if you want to experience the shift for yourself and you want to try it for free, sign up for my newsletter below. I send these weekly, and I also share in these newsletters the collective themes that we're experiencing. I often touch on astrology, numerology, how to move through the energy that week, and also all kinds of tips and info for motherhood, empowerment, healing, and nervous system resetting. So again, sign up in the show notes below or go to thehighvibesoulco.com. I'm just so grateful for these little signs and synchronicities and miracles. And these are things that I think are often overlooked by people. And so that's why I wanted to share this episode, because I actually told someone the other day, I said, my life has just become one big cascade of signs and miracles. I am so grateful, because the more that you notice them, the more you'll receive them. And when you say thank you God, thank you angels, thank you universe, you'll keep getting more and more, because that is one way that God speaks to you. And so recognizing these really makes life just so much more fun and magical. And it also can really help you on your path with decisions. I have a friend, shout out to Ashley if she's listening, who just moved to Colorado. And she was debating at one point, is this the right move? Her husband was at some sort of store with signs. And there was a sign that said something like, the time is now, or your move is now, something like that. And it was just confirmation. And then she now, since they've moved to Colorado, she keeps getting this number combination. And I guess it's the numbers of her home growing up. And so to her, that number combination means home. And so it's just reconfirmation, yes, you did the right thing. You were supposed to move to Colorado. So yeah, just look out for signs and synchronicities, and especially numbers. Numbers are a way that are always speaking to us, and you'll get miracles through people. I'll just share one more fun little example that happened to me recently. So on New Year's Eve, my husband went to bed super early, as he does, and I was like, I don't want to go to bed yet. And so I'm just kind of, playing around on my phone, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I feel like I need to revamp my website. I need a photo shoot. And so I start Googling photographers in my area, and I'm kind of going through their websites. I'm not really feeling any of them, and I'm about to give up. And then I'm like, let me just scroll down a little more. And I scroll down, and I see this woman who does photography in my area. So I'm like, how convenient. And I click on it. Her photography is beautiful. Her studio looks amazing. I love her whole vibe. I love the energy of her website. And I realize my friend knows her because my friend has a flower shop that's right by her studio. And I've seen them cross-post on Instagram. So I'm like, okay, if she's friends with this friend that I know, then she's good people, because this friend is like an earth angel. So I go on her website. This is 10:30, 11 o'clock. And she's running a special that expires at midnight. This special expires New Year's Day, so like an hour and a half later. And the special is like, I want to say half off her photography package, which, if you know, professional photos for brand shoots are not cheap. And so it's like half off, and you get video to use for like reels or whatever else you want. And I'm like, done, booking today. And I can do it beginning of January, which is always like a really quiet time. And so I do my photo shoot. I'm obsessed with the studio. I'm instantly just feel so comfortable with this photographer. I just love the photos. I've never taken better photos in my life, like truly. We end the photo shoot. We realize that our children are actually the same age, at the same school. We then go home to talk to our boys about it, and they're like, oh yeah, we're playground friends. Can we schedule a play date? So now I'm like, oh my gosh, how amazing. Again, this cascade of like miracles, signs, synchronicities that just led me to this woman who is now my new friend. And also my son has a friend that, it's great to have moms that have friends the same age that you connect with. And it's something that I've been calling in more, and I've actually been praying for more moms that I'm close with that also have friends that are the same age. And so it's just amazing how the universe just has your back, and if you just follow the little cosmic breadcrumbs, it will lead you to amazing, amazing places. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear about any fun signs, synchronicities, miracles that you've been experiencing, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the High Vibe Soul podcast. Your support means the world to me. So if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with a loved one. Sign up for my newsletter and receive 2 free high vibe meditations straight to your inbox. And for more ways to work with me, click the links in the show notes. I would love to hear from you, so send me a message on my Instagram at the.highvibe.soul, and I'll see you next time.